A warm welcome from Tax Sutra and DTS team from Rio at the 71st Congress of the International Fiscal Association, IFA. Almost 2,000 delegates here. Yesterday, what an opening ceremony it was. We almost, both Ostwal ji and I almost danced to the Samba beats. Yeah, Ostwal ji is laughing, he almost got tempted. And today, of course, it was all serious stuff. We kick-started the technical deliberations here at the 71st Congress, and as the IFA President P Kaka mentioned yesterday, it's all about BEPS, this Congress. This is the first Congress which has such an outsized BEPS focus. Ostwal ji, if I could quickly take the audience through some of the key highlights from the deliberations, especially the main plenary session, which was about BEPS, assessing its origin and responses.
So the BEPS session started excellently by Pascal Santanam, who gave complete overview of how the BEPS project started. He gave the project details from 2010 when the BEPS work just got conceptualized. In 2012, the work began. 2013, UKPSC grilled the Starbucks. 2014, the offshore leaks came in. 2015, the US and the Netherlands issues came up. Panama leak got in. And then 2016, Apple leak, Apple issues became very prominent in the European Union. Panama leak happened, and by that time the BEPS action was already ready. 2015, they prepared the action plans. 2016 finalized. They never thought that the BEPS action will emerge so quickly.
The BEPS bullet train, the BEPS Express has taken the speed of a bullet train with no going back.
Yes, it is more than a bullet train. In fact, Shinkansen train, like Japanese train. So therefore it is definitely.
It's on a hyperloop. But Pascal made a couple of other important points. He was surely the star speaker of the day, the OECD Tax Policy Director, Pascal Saint-Amans, as Ostwal ji said. He made a couple of very important points. Number one, on digital economy taxation, Action Plan 1, which hasn't yet seen any resolution, any consensus as it. He said that they are working, they have been given a mandate to explore solutions by 2020. An interim report of the OECD is expected by spring of 2018. We are 8-9 months away from that. He also mentioned that the OECD is working on expanding the PE definition to tax digital presence.
That's correct. This is one thing which is really has emerged out of this first action plan, digital economy, which initially last year we never thought that it will come up so quickly, because they had given a timeline of 2020. But after the Hamburg G20 meet, they decided to speed it up and bring it down to 2018 spring. So therefore, obviously by 2018 we'll come to know the overall thinking of the OECD. But
so they have identified it as a big issue, and though initially they could not find any common approach apart from VAT, GST, I think now there is a political will to do something on this aspect.
That's correct. And to this, the contribution came in substantially from our Mr. Ranjan, who talked about the digital economy and its taxation, which was introduced in India, which was out of the income tax regime and under the constitution under separate enactment, that is under the Finance Act, and therefore how India kick-started the digital taxation, and the countries are following that. Of course, what OECD eventually comes out with 2018, it means the Indian plan may be a work in progress, and India may also have to change the line of action.
Yeah, just taking that point forward from Ostwal ji on what Mr. Akhilesh Ranjan, who is the Principal Chief Commissioner, International Tax and Transfer Pricing, he mentioned on the equalization levy, he said that whether it is in the nature of income tax, is something that can be debated by the treaty partners, though the Indian government view is that since it's not part of the Income Tax Act, therefore it is not in the nature of income.
However, he also said similarly, because income tax does not allow deduction in case if equalization levy is not deducted at source, and income tax does not pay income tax if the equalization levy is paid, and therefore he said there are a lot of similarity with the income tax, and therefore this is a debatable issue. However, the treaty partner have to take a call on that and not. Let's assume if the other country also levies equalization levy, whether the Indian authorities will give a credit for that. That is the testing point, which there was no debate on that.
Open question. He also said, Ostwal ji, that the Article 5 PE definition needs an overhaul.
Yes, because of the digital economy, this is now emerging because number of countries like Turkey and all have taken up the PE definition change in their legislation. So similarly, now there is a demand coming up in the OECD also. The digital taxation is a challenge. Only way to tackle this possibly bring the change in the definition of PE, and that has been, of course, in the debate in India. And question arises is, even if you take this as a P, the digital economy as a P, de minimis rule and all those issues are going to be emerging issues. The only solution seems to be, in my opinion, is indirect tax, VAT. You introduce a VAT at an appropriate level and say this is a solution of a problem.
And of course, Mr. Aman's also gave an update on the MLI work that's going on. He said 71 countries have signed up to the MLI so far. 26 countries have signed up for mandatory arbitration. Absolutely no marks for guessing. India is not part of the 26 club. We move on to the next session, Ostwalji, quickly. Automatic exchange of information. AEOI is the buzzword nowadays, along with CBCR. So you have these 4-letter acronyms. On AEOI, that is automatic exchange of information, we heard a lot of updates on the global forum work that is going on. You had 3 perspectives coming in. One is a taxpayer perspective, one is a government perspective, and one possibly a global forum perspective. Ostwalji, if I could just read out a couple of key points that Monica Bhatia from the Global OECD Global Forum mentioned. She said that that they're looking to right now 102 countries have signed up with the global forum and accepted CRS out of 145 countries. 43, there are another 40 who have not signed up at all, who are not part of this. So the question that came up was, now, are these going to be the new tax havens, the people who have not signed up? And she tried to explain that that if someone brings it to the notice of the OECD that tax havens, there are some new tax havens emerging, they will look at it.
No, it is not like that. She said the Global Forum is a member of 100. Global Forum has 145 members.
Out of which 102
have signed, and rest of the 47 members of the other countries which are not signed the Global Forum, which are not part of that. Therefore, the question is, she did not agree that you can title them as a tax haven, but the question is, if these countries do not follow the practices which are the global practices, possibly there could be sanctions, possibly there could be the World Bank and IMF not granting them the loan or the facilities. These are the issues which are going to be the coherent action from the global forum, and that is what is recommended. Yeah. And also the process of peer review has been mentioned, and
so there is a blacklist fear.
Yes, there is a blacklist.
One of the panel members
That's the grey list, and blacklist is going to be a major area, and therefore the process of peer review is going to be a challenge for the future for the countries. And most important, another part which was debated and discussed was, what are the taxpayers' rights here in this situation?
Absolutely. And there were some fears that were expressed. Ostwalji, if I could take our readers through, then the taxpayers' side. One of them was whether communication of personal data to a public authority. Then you talked about collection and retention of data. Then we talked about the bulk transmission of data, whether it is in line with data safeguard. To what extent is exchange of information necessary and proportional? A lot of these are fundamental questions.
Absolutely. And in the light of the Supreme Court decision in India on the privacy rights of the individual, this becomes a very relevant issue in India now. The data protection is going to be the major issues, and India will have to safeguard the data protection. India is one of the countries where the data protection is not foolproof, and therefore this is one area. If the other countries also try to observe India's attitude, possibly India could also be given a warning about.
That's it from day one at the Rio